There's a new Porsche Macan GTS out as of today. I'm recording this on the 7th of October 2021. And I'm going to go through the highest and the lowest current prices of all the Macan GTSs that are around, as well as talking to you about the new one as well. So let's get straight into this and talk about the car. So Macan GTS, I've just started this off on Auto Trader, just showing the highest to lowest of all the Macans. Now they've brought out a few facelifts throughout, changing engines and changing the interior and things like that. But fundamentally, you're still getting a great car. And the thing for me about the GTS is more inside Porsche's DNA. It's more about like the handling. Anyway, the most expensive Macan GTS on sale today is £80,000. And that is with the 2.9 litre V6, 500 miles, and it's yours, but it has got a special paint on that one. There's a couple of others sort of rising up to 80 grand, 75 grand. That's the one thing about the Macan GTS. You can have a great car and residually they're extremely strong. But that's sort of like top end of these kind of cars. And if we look at like the most expensive one here, you can see it's from a private seller as well. He's obviously just bought it and wants to sell it straight away, which is whatever people kind of want to do. But it's a very nice car, but you can definitely get it at the right price. Now I remember even back sort of 6 or 7 years ago, so I'm just going to click on the lowest. There were cars which were like, they were trading above list for years. And then I eventually started seeing them sort of drop below around sort of mid 30s. That's a good kind of price to get one in. Even today I would say it's a good price to get one in. And in fact, I'm right. So the cheapest Porsche Macan with 80,000 miles is £40,000. And that's a 66 plate 2016 car. And that had the older 3 litre V6. Now, I will say that emissions and all these kind of things have changed, so sound regulations have affected the cars, and owners of Macan GTSs can let me know. I've spoken to owners in the past who've kind of gone up throughout the Macan GTSs, so they'll be able to let you know potentially in the comments, get involved in the comments for that. But yeah, the noise has dropped off a little bit. But yes, for 40 grand you can get one, so potentially not having to, that's half the money of a brand spanking new one. I think one thing to add, running costs of these cars are quite high. From what I've kind of heard as well from owners in the past, you can easily spend sort of £800 to £1,000 on just like a normal service quite regularly on these kind of cars. So running costs and keeping them going are a lot. I love checking this one for £43,000. I love the spider wheels. They're so cool. They look really great. Great colour as well. 4 exhausts like a Golf R. Yeah, it looks pretty good. Not so sure on the interior there, a bit out there. But yeah, and those wheels, again, you look on like eBay, it's like 5 grand. So it's like, factor that in. Put a rubbish set of wheels on, sell that if you want to try and like save some costs. But it really does set the car out. Really cool, really great. Now, the great thing is, if you're looking for a car like this, is Porsche have announced the new model. So this new model has been announced, and basically the biggest change that I can see, they had it in the previous generation as well, but this has got sort of like a real uplift in the interior. As you can see here, previous Porsche Macans and Porsche in general were just sort of button overload basically. Now they've reverted to more haptic buttons. There's still quite a few, but it looks a lot more cleaner. The touch screen looks really cool, really classy. And I think it's a big step up. I saw it and I was all like blown away. That was sort of like, you know, if you see like a Tesla and you see the big screen, that's quite a big thing about it. This has now raised its game quite a lot. This is basically it really. Let's be honest, it's all going to go electric. So this last of what is a very fantastic sports SUV. There's no Macan Turbo now in the range. The GTS is now the top of the range, whereas in previous models there was a model that was above it. Personally, I've always preferred the GTS because it's just a little bit better handling, a little bit lower, you sit a little bit lower, just, yeah, it's a fantastic car. You can order one new from Porsche from £64,000. By the time you put any options on that car, yeah, it's kind of endless, unfortunately. You can spend, well, I mean, that person's put it up for £80,000, it's probably easily cost the person 75, something like that with options. Yeah, that's what Porsche do. They add stuff in. I kind of didn't really like what they did with the Porsche Macan actually, and Porsches in general. With the GTS, they started charging you more for like GTS interior package, which before was just part of the GTS. Because obviously, why would you have a GTS without the GTS Alcantara interior and GTS logos? I don't know. And interestingly, when I was checking on Auto Trader, Ford Mustang, the Mach-E, is now sort of sponsored on Auto Trader as sort of like the first thing you see when you load up the page, which is huge for them. They must have paid a fortune to get that on the site. And there's a few sort of near me that I've seen. I'd have a Macan GTS any day of the week in this, currently where we're at in the 7th of October 2021. Ask me in 5 or 10 years, I probably might have a different answer. But today, if you want a family car, I talk a lot about the Golf R on the channel, which can be all the car you ever need, even for a family. But a Macan is obviously that. It gives you that extra room, more family friendly, and you don't have to give up on the sports car. You obviously get the badge. It's a fantastic car. I love the Macan GTS. I've spoken about it before on the channel. I hope this video has helped you out with a little bit of a price sort of gauge of where all GTSs are at from 2016 all the way to 2021. So £80,000 being a speculative high offer from private seller to £40,000 being the lowest. I have seen in the past, over a couple of years of checking it, they drop. I saw one sort of mid to low 30s and it was a good car. Get it at the right point. Because of the residuals of these cars, they won't cost you too much money. They cost you a lot of money to service and maintain, 100%. But in terms of the hardest value that any car hits is depreciation, it's not so bad. But I do encourage any owners to get involved in the comments to let other people know, because that's what my channel's about. It's a bit of a community channel. I just want to help people out with these videos. I've always loved the looks of the Macan GTS. I will say the new model, you get this big garish camera at the front. Don't really like the look of that. Other than that, it's a good looking car. The older models are a little bit more raw, if you know what I mean. And I'm not necessarily that fussy on the interior. I've got to say it has stepped up quite a lot, the interior, to be fair. I'm not so sure on these options. It's got like weird red vents. So I wouldn't go for that personally. But the red dials look great. Alcantara wheel.